Welcome to Talent Takeover
Unfiltered.
When it comes to working hard and keeping it real, we know our shit. Self-care, happiness, inner peace, and time. I'm Brianna Rooney, and this is Taylor Bradley.
Hey, y'all.
And we have thrived in chaos and turned it into an art form. So Taylor, what are we doing here today?
We're here to give you a raw, under-the-hood view of all things recruiting and finally give credit where credit is due to a long underrated industry that's full of quote-unquote experts.
All right. Well, then let's take this show to the road. Here it comes, another amazing episode. But before, let's talk about our sponsor. Imagine turning your recruiting skills into a thriving career without the usual hurdles like biz dev, managing clients, negotiating fee agreements. Reflick is here to make that happen for independent recruiters and agencies alike. Picture this. A platform where hundreds of jobs are waiting right here for you. Yes, you heard that right. Instant access to roles, no delays in vendor approvals. Woo! Now, let's talk numbers. Recruiters on Reflick aren't just filling positions. They're earning an impressive average of $10,000 for every successful placement. Think about it. Just one additional placement through Reflick could be the key to significantly boosting your yearly earnings. Cha-ching! So why let another opportunity slip through those fingers? It's time to fund those dream vacations with your recruiting prowess. Click the link below to jumpstart your journey with Reflick. The future of freelance recruitment is here and it's calling your name. So sign up now to start earning more. All right. Welcome to Talent Takeover Unfiltered. And of course, we are always laughing, boop, 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 laughing and shimmying before our episodes. Taylor, how are you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I am jamming. I'm having a really great day. I had a really good workout. So we should always do this on Tuesday, Wednesdays. Those are my morning workouts. But we are talking about something that we're going to try not to tangent, but let's be real, we're going to tangent because this is about re-energizing your career. How do you reignite the passion that you've had for something that you've done for so long? What's really interesting about this is that Taylor and I have been in the TA space for same time, right? 15 years or so, 16 at this point. And we're at an interesting crossroads. And to be honest, I don't know if we're at a crossroad because of the market or if we're at a crossroad because we've done it for so long, or if we're at a crossroad because we've accomplished so much and we're kind of like now what? So I'm gonna put that to you for a second because we're gonna go through this. And listeners here, this is definitely, I think, a subject that all of TA is probably talking about, but in different ways. So I would love share your journey, share your story, or even share your tips because this is what this is about, right? This is like a venting and tip session, I think, and therapeutic for all. But what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, or when you listed off all those things, it was or all of the above. But I think to get personal about my journey, I think for me, it's definitely driven by the market. I can honestly say that I haven't thought every year, every single one of those 16 years that I've been in TA, I haven't thought okay, do I want to do this anymore? Do I want to do this for it's been very recent, and it's been because of the last few years and the way that the market has been and the roller coaster that the TA space has been. And I'm a person that loves security and, I like consistency and I like stability. And, these last few years in the TA space, it just hasn't been that. So I don't know that I would be sitting here, personally, this isn't just an episode topic. This is real life, something that, I'm going through, you're going through, but how to get re-energized for our careers, how to get re-energized just in general, whenever you have been really been down about the market or about your circumstances or what am I doing? Just kind of at this point, which is where I feel like I'm really at. It's just at this point of what am I doing? Where's my career going? What direction am I going? What do I want to be doing? And, I never thought I would be feeling this way at my age and at this point in my career. I didn't think this would happen right now. I thought this was something that maybe I would, if I was going to go through it would have been much earlier in my life. But I definitely think mine is 100%. I could say it's 100% driven by the market and the circumstances, because when TA is great and we're rocking and rolling and there's tons of jobs to work on and tons of clients, everybody's really happy. like everybody, the clients are happy, we're happy. So I definitely think it's based on the market and the situation we're in. Cause I know I don't always feel this way or haven't always.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about, I'm like, is this a midlife crisis? Cause I'm turning 40 this year. Woo. I think I'm trying to like reflect because first of all, I think that's one of the tips, right? You have to reflect. You have to reflect, you have to journal, you have to really know like where feelings are coming from. When I sold techies in, oh my God, it's like almost 3 years now. I definitely had that moment where like imposter system came in. I never felt that before. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Was this a fluke? So for me, I'm in this weird part where I'm like, am I supposed to be coaching or am I supposed to be recruiting or am I supposed to be building? Mm-hmm. But I'm a builder by nature. So like there, you and I had this conversation where I'm like, I don't know. I think maybe I want to be an employee. I'm kind of tired of making the decisions, because we talk about, decision fatigue a lot, especially as moms, right? And badass moms, mind you. Okay. So I definitely like yearn sometimes for someone to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. So okay, I'm going to get even more personal with you relationship wise. Like, do you feel the decision fatigue? Like, are you like, Aaron, you're amazing husband. Are you like, just tell me what to do? I'm not figuring out dinner. Are you like, cause you've been leading for a really long time. You've been in charge for a long time. Do you feel that?
Yeah. I mean, every now and then I feel that, but it's more, I will say the main way in which I feel that in my personal life is, and I know you'll relate to this, is the entertainment for the kids and of the kids on the weekends or thinking, forward to summer. Like I put a lot of pressure and guilt on myself to entertain the kids, make sure that, if it's beautiful outside, we're spending time outside. It's like, what are we going to do today? We're going to go to this park. Like that's where I get decision fatigue is I feel like I figure out, I have it so much during the week that when the weekends roll around, I end up doing it anyway, but I'm like, I don't want to be the one that says we're going here, we're doing this, making the plans and making sure that everybody's entertained, the kids get sunshine, they're not on technology the whole weekend. I put that kind of pressure on myself and Aaron doesn't. He doesn't put that kind of pressure on himself. So whenever I tell him I'm feeling that way, he'll definitely speak up and be like, okay, I'm gonna make the plans. But I have to very much say like, because it is my nature. It is what I do. Yeah. And so I have to get to a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. This weekend, can you just figure it out? And then it's done. He'll figure it out. But I would say it's more about the kids' entertainment than like dinner and even some of those decisions. I'm like, I just can go, especially during the week. But the weekend rolls around, I feel like that's when I really get decision fatigue. I'm like, okay, somebody else just figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah. Well, I have a strong fear of being lazy.
Yeah.
Which, good.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, we weren't allowed to be lazy, right? Like you can't take naps growing up. I couldn't take naps. So it's like you're a busybody and you always feel like you have to be doing something. And I found that like even when Aaron will come home from work sometimes and I'm just like, I just feel like I can't be chilling on the couch or just doing nothing. I got to be like, there can't be dishes in the sink. There can't be laundry that needs to be done. And I'm just sitting here, and I know that it's a product of how I grew up and how I was raised. Like you didn't get to rest and relax, but that's why I'm really big on that for my kids is like, I don't want them to feel like they can never sit still and they have to go. And they're a lazy ass if they're taking a minute to just rest, because that's how I grew up. And I want it to be the exact opposite for them. I want them to learn how to like decompress and chill. I think it'll help with stress for them in the future for sure.
100%. I like you brought up the word chill because I have changed the word lazy to chill. Yeah. Because for me, again, like if that's a word that triggers me, it's like I even in family, I'm like, hey, no, we just chill. It has nothing to do with being lazy. Like no one will accuse anyone in this family of being lazy. We are doers, but we can chill because we can't run on that high octane all the time, which brings me to like the career aspect. Yeah. Like think about it. We have been jamming for 16 years and all of a sudden the market goes, yeah. And it's like, I don't know about you, but if my calendar is not jam packed, I'm like, like I do not run. I think of it like a restaurant. When a restaurant's jamming, nothing goes wrong, but when a restaurant's slow, all this shit goes wrong. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, but I have to be operating at like that speed. And so I think that's also, it's like, it's allowed me to have a downtime thought process, which I have literally trained so many people, including myself, to not think, just do. Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to sit here thinking. This is a no zone for me. But as we're trying to give advice here on how you re-energize your career, thinking is very much involved. And honestly, it scares me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and see, I'm a person that likes to think and likes to be alone with my thoughts. So I had, as you know, pretty big life event for me happen a few weeks ago. And, I remember telling Aaron, I remember being like, okay, it's a great thing that Brianna and her family are going to be here because it's going to allow me to not dwell on it. And and I'm not going to talk about the life event yet. I will, just for all of our listeners. I will. It's not going to be yet, but I will talk about it. But I remember being like, okay, it's a great distraction to have them here because it'll keep me from overthinking and thinking in a way that isn't healthy for me that I know I would be doing because it was just a couple days after the event. Right. And then, fast forward to after you guys left, I was like telling Aaron, I was like, I really need a day to just be alone with my thoughts, like completely alone. And that's how I process things. Like I need to just really sit and think and process because I hadn't done that yet. I was just kind of going. Mm-hmm. And which is what I like to do. But then when I get, it's weird. It's hard for me to explain, but I get, it'll come out in a different way if I internalize how I'm feeling versus I don't necessarily need to talk it out. I need to write it out or I need to process it out and think it out. That's what it's really weird. I know that you're like, what? I don't like to think through things, but you like to journal. That's kind of the equivalent. Sometimes totally, I journal when I'm thinking through something. Like I just need to get my thoughts out and that helps me process something to then move forward get through the other side of it, But I like to actually have time to sit and think or I go crazy. If I don't have like at least like a day a week where I can sit and just think about everything I need to do or journal or what is going on in my life, then I end up like internalizing everything and holding it in and it will come out in other ways that are not as healthy. So I know that I'm very self-aware to know about myself, like what I need to do to process something big that happens to me. And if I don't have the time to do that, I'm like, but yeah.
No, that's good. I've actually considered, and I'm going to do it. I just don't know when, but you can hold me to this. I do want to go away like full blown because, I don't have the kids full time. My ex has them. So there's no reason why I can't go somewhere, take 2 days off of work because it's Monday, Tuesdays that I don't have them. And just for me, not in the office, not at my house, somewhere totally different, maybe just like an Airbnb or something, just completely have no responsibilities and really just think. Yeah. Because every time I'm like, I'm thinking, I just want to disappear for a second. Like I'll like turn on the TV or I'll work. And then when you work, you're not like thinking, right? You're not really dissecting it. But to talk about how you reignite your passion, like really one of the top things is seek a new challenge.
It's true.
And that honestly, when you say that out loud, that feels really heavy. Cause like, what does that mean? What challenge? And is it in the TA and recruiting space?
Yeah. I think that's what, this episode I feel like is so relevant to what a lot of people like us are going through of, okay, what is that new challenge? Does that mean if you're agency, you try to go in-house? If that means you're in-house, do you try to go agency? Does that mean you try to pivot from TA altogether? Like that can mean different things for different people as far as what they're seeking a new challenge. I think the context in which we're speaking about it is different than maybe we would have spoke about it a few years ago, where seeking a new challenge might meant, get some sort of certification, like some sort of furthering education or further learning. It would have been something like that, seek a new challenge. Whereas now, I think what we're talking about, and again, I know a lot of this resonates with a lot of our listeners because a lot of them are in the TA space as well, is that new challenge getting into a completely new industry and space because of what has been happening in the recruiting industry for years now. At this point, we can say it's years. It's been a roller coaster for a few years, but that's also easier said than done too, So I think that's what you and I, and just so our listeners know, this conversation Brianna and I had, like a week or so ago, whenever she was in the Dallas area and we were hanging out with our families and we were just kind of both talking about this. And I think it's so interesting. We started at the same time in TA and, we worked together and then we've gotten so close as friends. And then we're both just kind of in this space, like what now? What now? And I don't know that I have the answer for myself for what now. That's where I'm saying I have to spend a lot of time alone with my thoughts. I have to think, I have to read, I have to research because I am at a point where I'm like, I don't know what that new challenge could be. Do I want a new challenge? Absolutely. Am I ready to say that I want a new challenge and want to try something outside of the TA space? Absolutely. But I have no idea what that could be. And again, easier said than done. It's so much easier to just hire somebody that has experience in XYZ versus taking a chance on somebody that's been in the TA space but wants to get into marketing or whatever it is,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we have some episodes on this and we might want to even go further on some of it, but obviously like the skills that we have, anyone has in the TA space are so transferable, like in so many different industries because we touch so many aspects of things, you know, and we're fighters. I think that you can very much say everyone in recruiting TA, we fight because we fight for the respect. We fight for the seat at the table. We fight for our candidates. We fight for our hiring managers. You know, there's so many interesting gloves we have to put on throughout. But I think something that's on this list, and we'll share this with the listeners because we're not just going to jam through the list. This is more conversational today for sure, is talking about the impact. Yeah. So what impact do you have? How can you re-energize yourself through your impact?
Yeah. And
how does that sit?
Do you feel like you're still having an impact? You know, do you feel like the impact that you have in the role that you're in, is it one that you actually do have an impact in, or is it a job? And again, I can relate to this so much. So I'm not knocking anybody that's in this space. Or are you in a job that you're like, you know, I don't have an impact, but I have a job. That's what it is. It's a job, you know? And so that's where I think that, you know, maybe you can lose some of your passion for doing something, because if it becomes something that's just too hard and a struggle, and you lose your impact and you lose your ability to feel like that job is, or this role within an organization is actually an impactful one that's respected, or one that's appreciated, or, you know, one that people don't look at like, oh, just, you know, like you said, a monkey can do our jobs. You know, it's really hard because we had that respect for like a year. It didn't last long. We didn't have it. We had it for like a year, and maybe a little over a year. And then it's been right back to how things were. And I feel like I'm just even seeing job postings, and I'm seeing all of these things that I'm like, how did we get here? Because I'm seeing these very senior level roles, all with, of course, thousands of applicants. So when you talked about fighting, you're like, you know, we're fighting for candidates. Fighting. I'm like, we're fighting each other for the same jobs. True. You know? I don't know. I feel like I'm at this, and it's very honest and vulnerable that we're opening up to our listeners about this, because this is real stuff for us, y'all. This isn't just an episode and like a list we're reading off of. It's a real life conversation and you know, internal conflict that we're both kind of struggling with, of like, what's next? And I know we'll both figure it out, but having an impact is something that's always been really important to me. And I think I've gotten away from that because you just do what you have to do. But I think it has directly impacted my passion for what I used to do, if that makes sense.
So when you're feeling impactful, is it because you are running a team that's operating at like, you know, high level, or you're being a mentor to them? Like what impact do you feel you're missing?
I mean, it's all of the above. It's not one thing, but it's like managing a great team and having really good, I would say one of my favorite things is I've always had really great relationships with the people that were on my team, you know, so much so they become friends of mine. Every single place I've ever worked, I'm still friends with people that were on my team. And, you know, having those really great relationships where there is a mentorship / you know, just mutual respect, because we're in there getting our hands dirty together, you know, not going to ask them to do anything I'm not willing to do. And so it's really just been centered around the team, but also feeling the wins. You have to feel wins, whether that's via the team or yourself. It just can't be like a super negative situation or negative environment or nothing's ever going right. I think that's another area in which you can lose your passion. And even think about it from a sports perspective. You know, if you're an athlete and you don't win shit, you're not winning anything. You know, it can affect your passion for the game, whatever game that is that you're playing, tennis, soccer, whatever. If you're never winning, it's definitely going to change. It's inevitable that it will change. And so for me, it's a bunch of different things that make me feel like I'm having an impact. But I would say the biggest one is a team, mentoring a team, and then also seeing that team be successful or grow within their roles or grow into different roles. I've gotten a lot of fulfillment my entire career out of that. And so that's always been something that's really important to me. So there's a lot of things that have to be missing for me to not feel like I'm having any kind of impact, but those are just a few. Yeah.
So you definitely don't think you could just be just an IC, just an individual contributor, no team involvement?
I mean, I think I could. I certainly think I could, but would it be something that I'm passionate about? Would it be how I felt about TA 5 years ago? No. I mean, I definitely think I could do it, but I don't think that I would feel as passionate about the TA space in that type of role as I did before.
Yeah. So something on this list that really, really resonated with me, and I'm like, even thinking about how I'm going to do this, is have a new hire mindset. So pretend like you've never done this before. Pretend that you have something really to prove, I think is super interesting. So internally, if you're struggling, like you're bored, you're lost your passion, you don't want to go to work, think about like you just started. Remember like that excitement? Like anything new is exciting for the most part, unless you know it's wrong immediately, right?
Yeah.
But I think about when I first started recruiting, like how jazzed I was, like, woo, money chills. I'm screaming like all day long, and it's like, I haven't done that in a bit. I did actually, here, let me talk about my win. I did have a hire, my first recruiting hire, like that I've done myself from start to finish in probably a couple of years, because at this point, it's more of like, hey, I'll get the clients and I'll pass them on and stuff like that. So that was super exciting for me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I feel that. But it's like, you're constantly, I don't know about you, but like, I feel like I'm constantly chasing some kind of high. And so it's like, what high do I want, and what high do I want to go chase after, I guess what that would be. So like the reason why I was in Dallas, if you guys don't know, is I spoke at a conference in front of almost 60 top billers in recruiting. And so I was like nervous. I mean, you know me, like you saw me right before I dropped off you'd watched my kids. It was amazing. I dropped the kids and I was like super nervous. I was like, I don't know. And, so I get up there and I'm up there for like over 2.5 hours at that point. And I was only supposed to be up there for like an hour and a half. And I got out of there. And the moment I was done, it literally felt like I was going down a roller coaster, like that crazy, like stomach, full blown high excitement. Like if I wasn't around someone, I probably would have been like, woo! Like screamed,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow, that high is really cool. So it's like, I get back to work. I'm like, yep, I'm going to go chase these speaking engagements. Like, that's cool shit, but I will tell you, the money motivation in me still seeks out recruiting, because that's where I know I can make really good money really quickly. And this is where I have to get my new hire in me. But the speaking is something I haven't nailed yet. That's that seeking that new challenge, knowing how I feel about it. And it's like, I'm constantly talking to myself, go get it, girl. Like, so what now? Yeah. You got to go reinvent yourself. It's scary, right? Why did and recruiting's my safety net.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get re-energized unless I go after what scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something to shake it up for yourself, whatever that is that you need to do. I feel like a lot of people in TA are probably this resonates with them. Like, should we, and I know I have been actually, like, when you go back to the original part of or the beginning of this conversation where you're like decision fatigue and do you just want Aaron to make, I go back to like, God, just someone tell me what to do. Like, do I need to stay in TA? Do I need to get out of TA? Like, somebody just tell me. That's where I think more than I've ever felt in my entire life is in this exact moment where I'm like, somebody just tell me what is the right thing that I need to do, because this is a big deal. I haven't felt this conflicted about my career since, I graduated college and was trying to figure out what my career was going to be, and like most people fell into recruiting. And that was the last time I remember really feeling this way, really feeling this conflicted with like, can somebody just tell me what I should be doing? I don't know.
It's like it's a Bruce Almighty moment. I just had the kids watch that.
Yeah. No,
it's like, okay, we just watched it, but it's like, God, tell me what to do. But I'm going to show you this because I believe in all these like cards. So the universe has my back. I pulled this a couple of weeks ago. I pull a new one whenever I feel like I'm needing something. But I look at that all the time and I'm like, no, got my back, whatever I decide. Like, I know I'm going to be okay. I know it's going to be right, but I hear you. It's like, dude, just tell me what to do. I'll be committed. And so for me, like I have my Post-its here because I did decide that I want to coach and be an instructor and stuff like that, but you really do. I think going to what you do is you have to be all in when you do it, or at least for 90 days. I think to really feel re-energized, really committed, really like, this is what I'm going to jam on. It's got to be 90 days.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, like just being like, oh, I'm going to do it this for this week. It's like, I think it's also to feel re-energized. You have to have the discipline to allow yourself to be re-energized, because that's its own separate thing. I mean, any goal, you have to have discipline. Like, that's the hard part, right? That's why people don't do their goals. But I think that this is probably one of these moments where you have to really be like, nope, I'm choosing to be super happy with whatever I choose today. And if it turns out in 90 days, it wasn't the right decision, great. I'll have to re-energize myself again because I know I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think for each person, it's whatever your process is to get yourself re-energized, or just, I mean, if you're not there yet, because I feel like there's steps to this, and I don't feel like I'm at the re-energized step yet. I feel like I'm still in the steps before then of trying to figure out what direction I want to go in. And then I think even figuring that out, that in itself would re-energize me. Like having a decision, having a direction, and being like, okay, fuck yeah, this is what I'm going to go do. I actually need that as a human being. And when I don't have that, I feel like I'm just flailing in the wind type person, you know, and that's not how I like to be. And so for me, I need some structure, and I need a decision. And then from there, it's like, okay, what are my steps to making that happen? And then I'll be able to put in the stability and the structure that I need that makes me comfortable, that does re-energize me, you know? So I think it's like, for each person, whatever it is that re-energizes, and it may not be anything on this list. It may not be, you know, reflecting on your role or celebrating other. You may be at a point that kind of, you know, like what we're talking about, where, you know, you're just trying to figure out what's next for me in my life, like bigger picture. What do I want to do? What am I want to be doing in 5 years? Do I want to be in TA and feeling the way I'm feeling right now in 5 years? Do I want to just be getting by on the skin of my teeth in TA? You know, like what ultimately, what do I want? And these are a lot of questions that I'm asking myself, and I have to imagine, and just based on the conversations I've had with people, with friends in TA, and the people that reach out to me on LinkedIn and the conversations I'm having with them, everybody's kind of struggling right now, and struggling to stay in the game mentally too, you know, is when the market is like it is right now. But yeah, I'm going to give them our broke to boss tip, but I know you love to add an extra. So do you want to?
I'm going to be, I know. I was just going to say, this is your takeover moment.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get there. I know myself well enough to know I'm going to get there. I just don't know what it is yet. And I've made some knee-jerk decisions recently that I knew in my gut weren't right for me. I knew that. And that is, out of everything, that's one of the things that I'm like, okay, never fucking again. Am I going to do that? Because I know better, and I went against what my gut was, and I went against, you know, when the red flags look like Six Flags, and it's always wrong. Every time I do it, it's always wrong. Now, did I get, you know, I've actually made a list. So there's pros and cons, and, you know, it ended up working out to where there was some pros, but ultimately there was more cons whenever I made a decision that was out of desperation, out of like, oh, what am I doing? And yeah, so just never again will I do that. That's one thing I have learned is like, if it doesn't feel right for me in my gut, I have to stick to that because it's not right. It's off for me. If my gut is off, then whatever opportunity or whatever choice or whatever it is off. But the broke to boss tip that, you know, this resonated with me. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think will resonate with many of our listeners is embrace your current reality or choose real change. Ooh. I think that's a really powerful one. Embrace your current reality, whatever that may look like. So like you said, maybe adopt, if you're in a situation where you're employed, but you're kind of in a funk, or it's slow, or it's just different than what you're used to because of the TA market, or you're just, has nothing to do with TA. You're just in a funk. You know, re-energize yourself by, like you said, acting like a new hire. If it's a really good job, and that's another thing that I'll never take for granted again, is a really, really good job that I just needed to re-energize myself. You know, I think people often leave a job whenever they think they need to like shake it up. And sometimes that's the right thing to do. You know, I'm not saying that's 100% wrong all the time, but I'm saying right now, you know, that's one of my takeaways is I will never take for granted a really amazing job and a really amazing employer, company, boss, all of those things. But you just feel like something's kind of stale or like, you know, you're not excited about it anymore. And yeah, I'll never take that for granted. I don't feel like I've taken it for granted in the past. I just have been able to like, okay, well, I did that, so I'm going to go move and do this. And it was just a lot easier to transition into something else. But that's how I coped with it before, was like transitioning into something else instead of being like, actually, this is a really great place to be. And I need to do what I need to do to shake up my mentality and make this work for me in a different way and get myself re-energized. So I think that's a great tip that you provided there on things like a new hire. And I think, you know, you either have to embrace your current reality, shake things up and re-energize yourself in your current role, or, you know, choose real change. And that could mean switching into a completely different industry, whatever works for you. But those are that's what I'm conflicted with right now. So I feel like that's real, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And actually, I'm almost wondering if that's an episode on how to help retention.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm thinking from a company perspective, I'm like, oh, wow, like people leave jobs for all sorts of reasons and that having a new challenge is one of them. But if you can show them internally that you can give them that and you can help them re-energize and you're cognizant to that, it's actually a really interesting retention tool.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's been so great about, like, if you have just a great relationship with your employees and the people that work on your team, they will have those conversations with you when they feel like they can, and there's mutual respect and everybody respects each other as a professional. And it's like, yes, I may be the person that you report to, but you're a human being. I still respect you. We are still coworkers. We work together. And if this isn't working for you anymore, or you want to take on something new or something different. I mean, we've had a lot of people like that you and I are both aware of, that we both worked with, where it's like, you know, luckily we were at the time able to offer them a different kind of environment where it's like, if you want to go do something else here or externally, but like we had other options and things to offer them. So I think as an organization, that's a great thing to do. But yeah, I think it's a whole episode about that, of what you could do, the signs of it when you feel like somebody's burning out. And burnout doesn't even have to mean the work. It doesn't even have to mean like working hours or the work that you're doing. Burnout can just happen when you're just tired of doing the same thing.
Bored.
Monotony.
Bored. Yeah. Although I do tell my kids, only boring people get bored, but this is different.
Well, thank God they're not listening. So.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, so listeners, I know this is definitely, I mean, this is, we keep it real over here. This is why we call it, you know, down Takeover Unfiltered, right? This is super raw. A lot of emotions obviously going on, a lot of like, who the fuck knows, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you can get, you know, re-energized by this. We will share the list because we didn't go through it because it's just, again, this is our journey, but hopefully you at least know you're not alone.
Yeah,
you're sure not alone. We're all here. We're all here to be super supportive. You know, something on the list is get a mentor or coach. If you don't have one, I mean, that's absolutely something that's helped me throughout my career. So something I would check out for sure. And we'll see you every Tuesday, right?
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.